have 22 people watching right now, by the way.
Good evening and welcome to Clark University's Off the Court, our latest installment from our Institutional Advancement Alumni Affairs Office, where we bring to you the stories, the legacies, and the lore of the institution that you adore. I'm Thom Chesney, Clark's 16th president, and I'm going to bring you a real treat as it relates to our athletic programs. You're going to hear from our top two coaches from our women's basketball team. We'll have a special guest from the team as well in just a few moments. But before we get started, we want to thank you, first of all, for tuning in. Whether you're watching us live or watching us after the fact, we're so pleased that you could join us, and we love the support that you bring to your Clark pride, your blue and gold, your university. We have generations of folks who pre-registered. We thank you for doing that, and we're going to look forward to having your questions brought to us live in just a bit. Might help to have a little bit of background as we go into tonight's production, our conversation. Clark has offered intercollegiate athletics going back to 1974, when Jane Zanotti guided the first women's basketball team to a 6-9 record. Since then, our athletic programs have grown to include 17 women's and men's sports. They become a very important part of the student experience and the culture of Clark, right here on campus and in our community, where so many of our fans come and join our students and staff alongside each other in the stands. Women's basketball has continued to serve as a cornerstone for Clark. And the 2021-22 season for women's basketball was one for the history books. It's hard to be brief here because the records are many, so I'll hit on some of the milestones. Most wins in program history, regular season conference champs, back-to-back conference tournament champions, six all-conference player in the Heart of America Conference for the NAIA. Our Heart Coach of the Year and Assistant Coach of the Year, who are joining me tonight. Most wins by a head coach in program history. The longest winning streak in program history. And the list goes on. I have the pleasure of sitting down with head coach Courtney Boyd and assistant coach Adam Hocking to look back at the monumental season for women's basketball, take a look at what's coming up in the year ahead, and other stories that we'll explore together as the evening unfolds. Quick bios for both of them, and then we'll get right into the Q&A. Coach Courtney Boyd, she's a native of Keokuk, Iowa, received her bachelor's degree in elementary education with an ESL endorsement from Dixie State and her master's of education degree from Augusta University. She came to Clark from UW Parkside, where she spent 2 years as associate women's head basketball coach and was involved in all phases of the program. She's entering her 6th year with us here at Clark and is coming off 3 straight NAIA tournament berths, 2 consecutive quarterfinal Elite 8 appearances in 2019 and 2021. Boyd recently became the program's all-time leader in head coaching wins with her victory on November 20th at home over St. Francis, as she earned her 97th win at Clark and her 102nd overall in her career. She was named Heart Conference Coach of the Year this past season. Next to her is Adam Hocking. Coach Hocking is a product of right across the river, Galena, Illinois. He earned his bachelor's degree in health, wellness, and recreation from the University of Dubuque and his master's degree in education from Edgewood College in Wisconsin. He came to us from Edgewood, where he served as assistant women's basketball coach from 2013 to 2015, and he's entering his 8th year as assistant women's basketball coach and is also our head men's golf coach right here at Clark. He was named Heart Conference Assistant Coach of the Year, the dynamic duo, if you will, this past season. And he also coaches with the Tri-State Frenzy Girls AAU basketball program. They have been busy all this week with camps across the street at the Kiel Center, where all the great things happen for our team. We get to have conversations, especially about why students come to Clark, and that's where I want to start this conversation. Coach Boyd, I'm going to start with you. What brought you to Clark, maybe what keeps you here, and then we'll hear from Coach Hocking.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, for the introduction and just having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity. What brought me to Clark, obviously, I think is a no-brainer, the basketball, the area, and the opportunity to turn something that was already in a good spot into a great spot. The recruits and the student athletes around this area, as well, I'm sure we'll talk about soon, are, I mean, they're what we base our team on. They are kind of the bread and butter of of what we do, and that's what makes us successful. So basketball kind of led me this way. I have family within 3 hours, and that was kind of the goal, to be close to family and create a family environment. We've been able to do that. And on top of that, the academics, I mean, they're something that they don't compare to other teams in the conference, what our student athletes are able to do. They're able to take their classroom and academics very seriously. Then we get on the road, and they, being on the court, they take that very seriously, and then combining it together, just having great people and being able to be around them every day. I think that's something I didn't know was going to be as great as it is, but it's absolutely probably one of the best parts of this job, is just to be around them each day.
Yeah, again, thanks for having us, Tom. For me too, again, similar to Courtney, just being somebody who's super competitive, being in this tri-state area is just a great area for women's basketball. And for me, just being the opportunity to be closer to home and being around my family and being a part of a school and a university and program that really cares about their student athletes, more than just outside the basketball court. And for me, just being in the area that's home, for me, and Clark is really a second home for me.
Courtney, some of the people watching tonight, and people have come to know you, and they see your history now, that you know your bio as an outstanding player yourself. Tell us a little bit about the journey from player to coach, and how that influences and how that continues to be a part of the work that you do with the women's team here.
Yeah, I think being a player was a lot easier than being a coach, and that's because you can go out there and you can help. I was a point guard, so I had the ball in my hand a lot, and I think the biggest thing with that is I always tried to be a coach. I tried to be the second coach, so whatever was being told off the court, I tried to bring it onto the court. I saw myself as a vocal leader. I wasn't always the most talented, but I was surrounded by a lot of great athletes that helped us have a lot of success, and it went from being a point guard to I think that I coach like a point guard. I like to communicate with them, but I don't like to over-communicate. And then just sitting in the chair standing next to the chair that's closest to the scorer's table. I think that, being the head coach, there's a lot that goes into it, and you have to surround yourself with people that you trust, because you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. That's the biggest difference, is playing when the ball's in your hand, you have a lot of control. You can see things and you can react. On the sidelines, you hope that what you delivered the 3 days before game day is what they needed to know. And then in game, you have to be, very quick with your decisions. And if it's the wrong decision, you have to be okay with, making that adjustment. So moving from player at the point guard position to a coach was probably one of the hardest things that I've had to do. And a lot of it is because I want them to be so successful, but I'm not able to do it for them. So trying to figure out how to deliver that to them, but allowing them to have that success and then reap the benefits of that success is probably the best part.
Adam, tell us a little bit how you came through your journey into coaching.
Yeah.
The follow-up to that is then, how does that complement? You hear Courtney talk about her approach as head coach. How does the yin become the yang in terms of assistant coach and head coach? And we'll have you go on the record, and she's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing with Courtney and I is we work really well together, where Courtney can really focus on the big picture parts of our program, and I can really focus on the day-to-day things within the program, anything from the academic side of things to obviously basketball. For me, I took a little bit different path in my coaching career. Started off as a high school coach. I was a four-sport athlete in high school. Actually played both football and baseball in college, and now I'm here coaching basketball and golf. So life kind of comes full circle in that sense. But for me, just took a little bit of a different route to my coaching career. Was a high school coach for a couple of years. Once I graduated with my undergraduate degree, I took a full-time position at Edgewood College in Madison, Wisconsin. It was a great experience there, and the opportunity to come back to Clark was very rewarding to come to. So,
well, we're glad you're both here, and we're equally glad. Certain nights of the week and weekends, we're even more glad for the players that you bring to us. And we've got to share with our viewers how it is a team comes together. Talk about the recruiting philosophy, what you're looking for, where you go, and bring us some of the detail that's led you to bring players that have led to the success that you've had now really for so long.
I think we touched on it a little bit, but I just think the ability to recruit local and build off of that creates the family environment that we want. A lot of teams and a lot of programs talk about being a family. We take that very seriously. I think there are a lot of things that go into that. The trust level of the people that you're recruiting, the trust level of the families that you're recruiting, to allow them to, have their daughters come to your program and trust that they're going to get the job done in the classroom, get the job done on the court, and still have a great time in 4 years. I think that there's something to be said for that. Kudos to the players and their families, honestly. We have been able to recruit locally, which then builds our fan base, which is a great place and a great environment to be in. And then we're able to build around that with the athletes and character. Yes, you have to be able to dribble, you have to be able to shoot, all of those things, but those aren't the first questions that we ask recruits when we bring them on campus. We like to talk about, why are you interested in what you're interested in? What are you looking for in a program? We like for them to tell us, because if there is something that sticks out that they might not enjoy, but they're telling us they want, we want this size of school, or we want this size of city, or we want to be a starter, or all those things where we can't guarantee it. We know right there it's going to, turn into a different conversation. So yes, we evaluate a lot. We're on the court and we're, sidelines a lot. We're watching for their reaction in the game and how they're reacting to their teammates and what they do with their coaches. We then talk to their coaches, and then sitting down with them and their family, I think, goes a long way. You can tell a lot about a person, 18 to 22-year-old, when they sit down with mom and dad, what their goals are going forward, and that there's something to be said for that. And I think the best part and the biggest thing with our group is that they each have goals. They are not the same goals, but when it comes to basketball, they all have very high achieving goals, and it's not about them. And that's just something I'll probably say however many times you ask me. This team is not about themselves. They don't care how the team wins. They just are excited to get it done. So the recruiting aspect of it's important in every sport, but for our team and our success, the culture and the chemistry of our team has created the success overall.
Adam, how have you seen that develop? What would you add?
Yeah, I would just add that, we really like to focus on the tri-state area. I think, me personally, I think some of the best basketball in the country is within the tri-states that we work with. Being able to recruit from Illinois, Iowa, and Wisconsin, and having a majority of our roster be within a 150-mile radius of Dubuque is such a big key for us, because that's our fan support. That's the community and culture that we've built within our program. I think the three things that we always look for when we're looking for our student athletes is, one, is that they're academically focused. Two is that they're dedicated athletes and they want to get in the gym, they want to get better. And then three, they're students of high character, students who want to grow, within the community, within the Clark community, and within the Dubuque community as well. So we've been fortunate enough to have some really good, not only players, but some really good people come within our program. So that's just been really important for us.
Expand on that a little bit more, that character piece. You both touched on it. And maybe that extends to what your expectation is for the time you have the women here playing for you, but where they're going afterwards. Do you sort of think about that forecasting, or if you want to even talk about, some of the student athletes who come your way and what you're proud of that they take beyond the court into where they go from Clark, for example?
There is one thing that we don't have to do, and that is worry about them when they're not with us. That we don't have to do that. We don't have to worry about, their academics. We don't have to worry about their decision making. We don't have to worry about what type of teammate they're being. It makes our job easier, but I think they're, just like you mentioned, once they're finished with basketball, absolutely, if they go to the WNBA and they become a professional, we are all on board. But they don't come here with that goal in mind. They know that there's something after that. And so the things that they've taken away, we always tell them on the recruiting visits that we don't want you to come in as a freshman and be this type of player and leave as a senior the same player. That's the same thing that goes with their, them as a person growing as a young adult. We don't want them to come in as a freshman that's nervous and not sure who they are or what they want to do in the future and all those things, and leave that same person. So we try to instill the confidence that they're making the best decisions for themselves. that they are surrounding themselves around people that are going to help them and, put them in positive and successful situations, and that whatever decision they make, they have to live with that decision. And if it doesn't work out the way that they thought, that's okay. There's always something else that can be done, and we really do try to help them grow with that. And I mean, that goes to say with the alumni that we have. I'm going to miss somebody, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time, but we have a teacher that's teaching in the Dominican Republic right now. We have nurses that are traveling that just graduated and have immediate jobs. One just moved back to Dubuque. We have teachers within 30-mile radius that got a job right out of school. We actually have one of our graduates from 2 years ago now. She is working at the Mayo Clinic. She's doing lab research. She just accepted a position and she's going through training there. So anywhere and everywhere, we've got people out there in the business world, in the classrooms, and that's exciting because if you're leaving the women's basketball program at Clark and you're going and you're able to touch lives, whether you're nursing or you're a doctor or you're going to the classroom or you're sports management and business and you're overseeing people, we know they're creating better people around them, and that's one of the best things for us to see going forward.
Yeah, I would just piggyback off that too, Tom, and just say the biggest thing and most rewarding part of our job as coaches is just to see the progression and the development and the maturity that our student athletes come in as we recruit them when they're 16, 17, 18 years old, and watch to see them grow not only as a basketball player but as a person, and then eventually once they graduate to move on to bigger and better things. The most rewarding part of our jobs, I believe, is just the relationships after they leave Clark. Not only to be, we always preach that we're a family as a program, and we really are, just because of the way we communicate, the way we relate to one another. Even for us now as coaches to be able to see our alumni come back and come to our golf events and come back to our basketball games and those kinds of things and be supportive within our program. That's just a really important piece for Courtney and I and within our program, is that we're going to always support one another as soon as they get onto campus as well as once they leave.
Yeah, I appreciate you both sharing that. Maybe I'll punctuate just a piece of that I see a little bit from my role, and that anyone who comes to see a game, or check the bios out on the web, or look at our rosters, and you both hit on it. And I want to make sure everybody hears that. Nurses, teachers, double majors in programs that require, being at clinical sites, sometimes early in the morning, late into the night, doing that student teaching. You're not hearing a common theme of that there's anything easy about coming to school here or the programs that our student athletes are achieving, and then you see where they go on and what they take with them. I think that's really important. That's part of a Clark legacy, but also the character of the students and the quality of the students that you're bringing in as well. So a lot of work ethic there, and I'm going to turn that work ethic piece to the two of you a bit, because I think as a sports fan myself, we can turn on the television at night, put on a game, and about 90 minutes get our fill of something really exciting, whether our team wins or loses, and maybe think how nice to be a coach and have this 90-minute gig 2 nights, 3 nights a week. For our viewers, take us through the reality of being an intercollegiate coach, and what do the hours really look like, and how do you fill those hours?
Yeah, I can't even give you a day-to-day because every day is different, but I will tell you that the on-court, in practice and in games is probably 25% of the job. The recruiting is probably 60 or so, and whatever the math is, the difference of that is, that's the behind-the-scenes things where we're meeting with, but the recruiting and the one-on-one time with the players that's something that's unmatched with how we've grown our program and what we can do. Being on the road, recruiting it takes time. It's time away from family. It's time away from friends. It's time away from, your own lives. But that's what we signed up for, and that's why we have the group that we do. Practice and games, yeah, that's the fun part. You're exactly right. That 90 minutes is a blast. However it ends, it's really fun, and it's adrenaline, and of course we're competitive, but running camps, what we just did in the last couple of weeks. There are things that we're doing behind the scenes. We are bringing people in for one-on-one individual workouts. We are doing team bonding. We're fundraising. I'm sure I'm missing a ton of things. and then travel on top of it. I mean, it's fun to be at that game, but it takes 5 hours to get there. So we're leaving on a bus at a certain time, we're going, we're playing in the game, we're getting back on the bus, we're coming back 5 hours, and we are still expecting them to be really good in the classroom, and they own that. And that's the conversation we also have up front is, you're a student athlete, and it's hard. There's a lot of time that your friends might be doing things, they might get to go to the mall, or they might get to sleep in, and you're not going to get to do those things. So just as much as it takes away, and I don't say that in a negative way, but it takes time away from what people think of as like, oh, they go to the game, they go home, they're with their family the rest of the time, and they do a great job doing it. That isn't something that happens every day. It's a stressful lifestyle because you're trying to, like I said, put 18 to 22-year-olds in a successful situation 2 days a week, but everything else up to those 2 days a week is what you're prepping for. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that goes into it, and if you don't have, like I mentioned before, if you don't have the people around you, there's no way I could do this by myself. So there's a lot. I'm sure I missed everything you're about to say, so add on.
No, I think we're just really fortunate because we have a complete coaching staff that's really dedicated to our program and want our student athletes to be successful both on and off the basketball court. The two things, the one thing I can tell you about Courtney and I is we're really sore losers, so it doesn't matter what it is. So the big thing with us in our program is that we're very goal-oriented, we're process-driven, and we understand what the process is. I'm somebody who's on my phone 24/7, whether it's recruiting, working on scouting reports, figuring out what our travel arrangements are for the next game, and trying to figure out personnel and matchups and all those kinds of things. There's just so many things throughout a basketball season where your mind is just constantly working and running, especially with recruiting as well. We do majority of our recruiting not during the basketball season, but more in the summer and the springtime. Coach and I are traveling to a lot of recruiting events and showcases where we're watching a lot of kids play. So it just takes a lot of your time. And so Coach and I are trying to spread ourselves as best we can throughout the spring and the summer. So it's been busy.
Does that lead to some of the chemistry that you have, or why you're a good fit? And you don't see some of that coaching carousel or turnover that you'll hear about from team to team, again, as viewers or whatever. You've got something that's working. What keeps it working?
I think for me personally, I'd like to think I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at all. And so, he's able to complement that, as well as, and I'd have to give him a shout out, even though they're not here, as well as Carrie Kennedy and Dale Linderwell, what they bring to the table. We don't just, sit around and have coffee and chat about last night's game. We're trying to figure out what's next. What's the schedule look like for next year, and what do the workouts look like for this group, and how are we going to get this group where they need to be, in what vehicle, and those types of, what are we going to feed them, all of those types of things. Everybody, just like on the court, everybody has their role. And I'm not afraid to say that I am not great at everything. I'm not good at everything. I probably have a top 5 things that I either like to do, enjoy to do, or am good at. And to be honest with you, these 3 pick up the rest of that. So I'm okay with saying that I don't know it all, and I'm not always right, and I think that there's something to be said with that with the staff as well. Yeah. We have conversations, one-on-one behind the scenes, that we need to fix this or adjust this, and it works because we trust each other.
No, and I would say too, we're a coaching staff that's very humble. We don't know everything, so we always bounce different ideas and strategies and plays and all kinds of things off one another. I think we really complement each other really well in that aspect. We're not a coaching staff that likes to pound chest or take all the credit for certain things. We put the team first in everything we do as a program.
So I'm going to pull off something you said. You don't know everything, you don't always get it right. Well, this past season, I got to witness a good share of it right across the street. You got a lot right. What came together that made that happen? Highlight some of those successes, but unpack also a little bit of some of the challenges along the way. You don't get to 30-plus games without an injury, without a loss, and some of those things. So some of the highs and lows of the last season, how that was so successful.
We'll start with day 1 of the season. It was our opening scrimmage, and our starting point guard broke her wrist. And immediately, we haven't had a game. We have had a week and a half of practice, and here we are. Okay, what adjustments are we going to have to make? Who's going to have to step up? Who's going in this position, and where are we rotating people? And What's that going to look like? So immediately we come together as a staff and then we communicate that with our players. That's the biggest thing. And I'll say all of the things. I'll try to answer everything that you know we're speaking on, but we're always going to come back to, and then we communicate it with our players. And then we communicate it with them. And then we want them to know and we want them to be on board. That trust factor is huge, because at the end of the game, if they don't trust what's going on or they think that we just pulled it out of anywhere, it's really going to be hard for them to execute that. So we also, us four, embrace being players, coaches, and I think that that's what creates the success that it does. So we went from a broken wrist, we adjusted where we were playing people, and our backup point guard soon turned into our starting point guard with minimal experience on the college experience on the court, and she did a phenomenal job. We relied on a handful of underclassmen coming off the bench or starting the game or whatever the case may be, and they had to take their game to the next level, which usually we're hoping for after Thanksgiving, and that had to happen November 1. So there was one thing. And then we take our trip out to California, which was phenomenal, and we are able to experience playing Menlo out there, and we get a really tough win, and then we get to go play Stanford, and we have one of our starters playing with mono, unbeknownst to us, and unbeknownst to her, and she played the entire month with aches and pains, and nobody knew what it was, and she toughed it out, and then she told us, the doctor said I'm cleared, but I've had mono for X amount of time. Well, holy smokes. And she ended up being, an All-American, which is phenomenal. And we then went from that to another injury. We had some shin splints and some Achilles, and we had, obviously, COVID is everywhere, so we had a couple of instances where we had to, sit a couple people out, or we had to make some adjustments. We went from that, and every single time the team responded. I'm sure I'm missing something else. We now have, we then had a shoulder injury. We played teams, we played the teams, top teams in the nation. I think we played I'm missing, our stats guy's not here, but we played at least 5 or 6 top 25 teams in the first half or first, third of the season. And every single time the players stepped up to the plate. We're going to make this adjustment for this game. Let's get it done. We're going to make this adjustment. We're going to play this team that runs and guns. You have to score 114 points to win. They got it done. All of the things that come with that, I think, just our communication with what we had, the communication with the team, we were able to get over those humps, which in turn allowed us to have a really phenomenal season. We went, and like you mentioned, we won the regular season conference, which in the heart of America, we did a lot of things this year that had never been done. We were able to win the regular season, the conference tournament, and the conference tournament championship we were able to host, which I cannot thank everyone enough for the environment that they created. We've had kudos on the road recruiting. We've had kudos from our fans. We've had, that is a great environment. They were very professional in the way that they acted, but there was no way that team was coming in here and beating you and all of those things just because of our fans. It had nothing to do with our game plan or our team. And then the team showed up, and they had the we're not losing this game, this is ours to take type of thing. We had a couple bumps in the road. We lost 2 in a row. We came back strong, and we went to the national tournament. Luckily for us, we were able to get a pretty good seed. We thought we had a good route. And the head coach in the first 5 minutes of the game, if she would have been awake, we might have made an adjustment a little bit earlier. You know how that always goes. And the team gets down 17, and we tie it back up. Yep. That just goes to show the type of team that we had. We're here for a reason. We know we're as good as this team. We know how to get things done. This is what they're telling us to do. These are the adjustments. Let's do it. You make one more free throw, you win. But you can't win them all. And this group, they surpassed every expectation that they had for themselves and every expectation that we had for them as coaches, going through multiple hurdles. And the best part about it is 96% of them return. So we are really looking forward to what's to come.
Yeah, and I would say, too, it was just a season of, like we tell our players all the time, of overcoming adversity and challenges. And a season that We had handled many different injuries, from our starting point guard breaking a wrist in our pregame, mono, still playing through a pandemic at times. You know, there's just many different challenges that we had within our program, and I think the biggest thing is our team is just, they have such great relationships off the court and cohesiveness on the court. I think that's just huge for us. We're a program that's really resilient, and it just shows with our schedule. We played a really tough schedule, both non-conference and our conference within the Heart of America is one of the toughest in the country. And also very rewarding as well for us to be able to go and play the defending national champion Stanford on their own home court, and for us even as coaches to play or to coach against somebody like Tara Vanderveer is just an opportunity for a lifetime for us. But we had a ton of success, you know, obviously on the basketball court, but it just comes down to our players because they're so dedicated, they care for one another, they support one another, and they want our team to be successful. We're not a team that takes, sure, we love the personal accolades and their awards and all those kinds of things, but we're so team-oriented and focused that that's just the most rewarding part for us as coaches.
Thanks. I want to remind our viewers that are watching live, put your questions in the chat so we can carry them through and hear from our coaches. And we'll hear from one of the players very soon as well. So this question came in, and I'll let you decide who wants to field it because, you know, you've got that chemistry we've been hearing about. When did you think you would clinch the conference title again, and how did you sustain the momentum going through the season?
Well, I can give my opinion on that. When did we think we would clinch it? The day that we won. As a coach, you never think that you're going to do something until the buzzer sounds, and I think that that's the most stressful part of the job. When did we hope that we could clinch it? The day that we lost the first of the 2 games in a row. That was an eye-opener for us. We went in, we were thinking, oh, we might even be able to go undefeated. You know, we're talking as a coaching staff, trying not to share it with the team, trying not to get our hopes up, and then that happens. So then you reevaluate. But the clinching was probably the day that the buzzer went off. For me personally, we got it. We did it. We made it happen. Sustaining that momentum was nothing because of us, to be honest with you. It was because those 2 games that we unfortunately lost created a momentum for this group that needed to happen, but at the same time propelled them to be even more prepared. They were even more focused. They were even more locked in because then we were on the bubble of you lose one more game, or if somebody else wins one more game, it's a tie. You know, we don't want to tie, all of those things. That's when the competitiveness, excuse me, came out with the players. They created that momentum themselves, and it actually grew into us, and we then tried to take that to the next level for them.
Yeah, and for us, we're always a one game at a time program, just attacking every challenge that comes to us as a team. And two games that I can think of is we had a really tough non-conference game against Indiana Wesleyan this past season, and after that game, we took a loss, but it was a really kind of an aha moment for our team to kind of talk things through as a program, as a team, and to basically lay out what our expectations are for each one of our players and what we need from them going forward in order to be successful. And then also throughout the season, we knew that once we got towards the end of the regular season, that if we had the opportunity to clinch home field advantage in the conference tournament, that was going to be a huge thing for us because our stat guy isn't here, but because we play so well at home. Our home crowd, the environment that we have in the Kiel Center is just electric, and the game that we had in the conference tournament championship against CMU was just an atmosphere that I've never been a part of, but there was only standing seating available in the Kiel Center, which was just a huge environment for us. But I just knew personally, once we got to that environment and we had that crowd support around us, that there was nothing going to be in our way.
Stay with that for just a moment. What was that night like? I mean, a lot of emotions, a lot of energy. You hear players more often talk about the energy, and coaches will talk that as well. What did that do for you? Is that one of those memories that stays with you? It's going to be there for some time.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, just all the hugs and handshakings and congrats after the game, that's the only thing that I can really remember. Everything up until that point is just anxiousness and waiting to get it over. But for us, we knew we were the better team, that we knew that as long as we stuck to our game plan and and played together as a team on the court, that we knew that we could get the job done. But just the rewarding part for us as a coaching staff to put everything together and to make it all happen and to to complete another one of our goals throughout the season.
And I'm the complete opposite, which is why we work. Up to that point, I remember everything. Up to the time when the tip went off, I remember everything. Walking through, where our cafe is, and walking through, Coach, can we do a blackout or a whiteout? Can we do this? I mean, we had student athletes and professors and faculty and staff. What time should we be there? And are we supposed to do this? And how do we get tickets? And where do we go? And what time do the doors open? And all the things that you don't think about, but they're thinking about, because the environment that this group of young women have created, they want to be a part of. So they decided on a whiteout, which was great. And they asked what color are their jerseys. We can't be the same color as the other team. I mean, they really thought this through. So that was phenomenal just to hear, and they were so excited to be a part of. They were just as anxious as our team. And then I think the next thing that I remember was walking into the gym. And usually when we walk into the gym, we have 5:30 games. So people show up probably 10 minutes before. They're getting off work, or they're getting out of class and getting something to eat, or whatever the case may be. So this game, I walked in, and I think there were already probably 50 people in the stands. And we usually come out 15 minutes or so before tip-off. And it was one of those where you just knew. You just knew that the place was going to be packed. You knew that they were feeding off of the team on the floor, but they were feeding off of each other. They came in face painted, chest painted, all the white out, all of the things. And it was one of those where you knew you were in the right spot. It gives me chills to think about it. It gets me excited, honestly, to start the season again, because everybody that was in the stands was there for the same 15 people. They were there for the same 15 people, but everything that they had across their chest was all for Clark. You can't share that with anybody else. You can go to a different university and nobody knows what that feels like if they haven't experienced it, but forever they can talk about it as a positive memory that this is what happened on this day. Do you remember when this happened? And do you remember what it felt like? And then I do remember when the buzzer went off and everybody stormed the court. Our players were excited and everyone was excited for them. That's just where you kind of look at each other in awe, and it's an exciting place to be.
And it was just such a one Clark, one community moment, and even building up to that point, because our Clark community is so supportive for us, not only the athletic coaches, the other athletics teams that were in the stands cheering and all those things, but people like, Sarah from the bookstore offered to buy our girls the energy drinks that they like in the bookstore, to people in the CAF wanting to know what can they feed our kids, different student athletes. I coach the men's golf team, and our men's golf team comes in and they run scout and they practice with our girls, so they're so supportive of our players and wanting to be involved. Having the football team all there and wanting to have, I think Coach and I bought about 90 to 100 different white towels so they could have some rally towels in the stands. So it was just an environment that was just incredible.
And then you've got that other side. Not much quieter with all those parents. Have you spoken to that? Those families and extended families and community who come out for that as well. And that together creates some of that energy as well. Did it feel like slow clock fourth quarter? Is there any point where you kind of look up there and say, come on?
Yes. It was one of those where it's like this, we don't have a big enough lead. Anything could happen at this point. The players said, we knew we had it, Coach. We knew. We felt it. We knew. Well, we don't ever know that because, like I said earlier, we don't have any control over that. So for me personally, it was one of those where it was like 5 minutes still. We're only halfway through. 3 minutes, 1 minute. How many timeouts do we have if we need them? But you just feel it. There are times in a game where you look at each other and you're like, wow, we're really going to have to nail this, claw through this one. We're really going to have to just get through this one and hope the buzzer sounds and we're up by 1. There were times throughout the game where it's like, oh yeah, they're not walking away. They're not walking away without this championship today. So the other side of that anxiousness and what we're trying to game plan for, I think it was the second to last timeout, we all kind of looked at each other with that look in our eye like, we're in a good spot. We're okay. They've got this taken care of. Let's just let them run with it, which is a fun position to be in too, for us just to sit back and them to make the decisions to win.
I think too, our team knows each other so well. One thing we do at halftime a lot is we used to have them write down the pluses and minuses, or the adjustments that our team has to make. Usually for us as coaches, we come into the locker room and they typically know, already know what we're going to tell them. They know what adjustments we need to make. So even during the game too, they knew what they needed to do. They knew what the expectations were and what they needed to do to finish the job. So they just picked each other up.
Well, let's go ahead and make a little adjustment of ourselves, create a little more space at the table, and have Nicole McDermott come in and join us to talk a bit about the season that was and take a look forward to the season that will be. While we're doing that, I want to speak to one more thing. You talk about a community, a team that builds community, and you help do that, and then they do that with and for you and alongside. It becomes very collaborative in that way. I've got a memory after that game that stands out too, and that was there were some people who stuck around after the game to help pick up in the stands. Was that the fans and the parents and the staff, or who was that? Share that story.
That was our players. It was, they were iced up. They had played 30 plus minutes, and they were in the stands. We look over, they've got 2 trash cans. They're carrying them through the stands, and obviously we have one here with us. But it didn't even cross their minds. We won a game, but our home court it's a mess, and we love we love the people that take care of our facilities, and we appreciate everything they do. So just because we have success doesn't mean that we can leave it worse than the way we found it. And honestly, we do a hashtag every year. That's the thing now. You have to have a hashtag for your social media accounts, and our hashtag was different, and that could not have summed up our group any better all last season. They were different in the classroom. They were different when they were around each other. The way that they treated people outside of their team and the Clark, community it was just different. They care about each other. There's no judgment of who you are or where you came from. Just are we having fun and we having success? Then let's do it together. And just because we won that game, 2 things I think crossed their mind. We know we're not better than cleaning up after ourselves, but you guys also brought all of this energy and environment for us. So let's do our part and pick up after you. We purposely took pictures and we purposely put that on our social media because at the end of the day, that was just as important as the win. And that's the group we have. We can talk all about it and it's hard to believe, but until you sit down next to them and until you hear from them personally, you don't believe it. But they really are a great group.
So, Nicole, you've been with us all the way in through the summer break as well. So welcome to the table.
Thank you.
Now I'm seriously the most deficient and the unexpertised person at the table as it comes to basketball, having coached only in middle school level. But you can bring us the perspective of what it felt to be different and the difference that made. So tell us first a little bit about why you came to Clark to be a part of this, and then memory or 2 from the season that was, and then we'll open it up and talk about what's coming forward, what you expect and what our coaches expect.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing and the biggest thing about Clark is that it's close to home. I'm a big family person, so I didn't want to go too far away. And then the team was growing, the program was growing, the coaching staff was great to me right out of the bat. And academics as well. They had what I was interested for school. So like they mentioned earlier, being a student athlete, being able to graduate, have a degree, and start a career was really important.
Talked a little bit about their hours. Give our viewers, many of whom are alumni, and put in some hard hours here. What does it look like for you in your major and as a student athlete?
Yeah, so I'm a double major, so it's a little bit back and forth on my classes and what I'm learning. But then you get done with class, you do your homework, hang out with your friends either way, and then you go to practice. And then you go back to where you're living, do some more homework, and really being able to determine and put to perspective when you need to hang out with your friends, when you got to do homework. Self-discipline comes into it and deciding when that time needs to be set.
And as the season went on for you, what stands out as maybe some of the turning points for you and your teammates that made it so successful?
Yeah, I think the trip to Stanford really. Not only was it a great experience, but we got to travel and be a family. Essentially, we got to take this fun trip, do things together, and our families were there too. There was a bunch of parents and siblings there, so we got to spend a lot of time together. So it kind of helped us bring everyone together, and then we come back home, back to our more level of playing field, and carry what we learned and take it further into our games then.
Is it true that the court's the same size at Stanford as it here is it here at the Kiel Center? The rims are the same height?
I mean, you would think so, but at that point when you walk onto the court and you look up and it doesn't seem like it's the same.
Yeah. Some of the players are a
Little taller, yeah, you got to kind of,
some mountains
yeah.
there as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's begin to take that look forward as we begin to kind of turn into the fourth quarter of our time together tonight. Give us some insights as to what we might expect, what you're hoping for, what you're starting to put into place here in July and August before you get to the end of October and into the season, November thereafter.
The preparation of what personnel we have, how we're going to run it, and what we're going to do with them. I think that's probably what the conversations we're having as a coaching staff right now, and if we haven't had them, we're about to have them now that things have slowed down off the court. I think the expectations with this group and everyone returning, the expectations, I'm pretty sure, are not going to come from us this year. I believe they're going to come from within the players. We're going to have individual meetings, we're going to have team meetings, and they're going to say, well, we want to do this, this, and this. And we're going to look at each other and say, okay, well, that's what we have to prepare for because that's what they want, which is the best feeling. Because if we were to tell them what we want from them at any given time, if they don't agree with that or they don't feel that's realistic, it's really hard to get them on board. So what's to be expected? I don't think the expectations are going to change from last year to this year. To be honest with you, I think they're going to be a lot harder on themselves than we will probably be as coaches. But I think their expectation to do what we have done in the past and continue to do what we've done, make it a couple of games further at the national tournament, through wins and losses, I think that's going to be their expectation. I'm speaking for them, but that's the vibe we're kind of getting. And then that preparation right now for what we're doing as a coaching staff is how can we create that chemistry? How are we going to get the new student athletes to be cohesive? And what are we going to do going forward? What pieces did we lose? And how are we going to make those adjustments early in the season so come January, February, March, it's hopefully a very well-oiled machine.
I think, too, our kids are so competitive, and their dedication in the gym is far from none. Our kids are in the gym multiple times a week, even now in the summertime, working out with our coaching staff, getting in the gym and working on their game. So I think for us, and especially the pandemic has taught us in the last couple of years that for us as coaches to think kind of outside the box in ways that we can challenge them, not only physically but mentally, both on and off the basketball court. And Coach, this is a time for Coach and I to fine-tune some things, X's and O's wise, and obviously make some adjustments that we need to on the basketball court to take our game to the next level.
So Nicole, they're turning to you and saying, you know, the expectations are going to come from the players. You maybe not be able to speak for the entire team, but you've got a good sense of it. You're part of the family. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is the most excited I've been for a season to start. Like she said, we're going to have a lot of expectations on ourselves. Everything we did last year, the regular conference, the conference tournament, we're going for that. And then towards the end of the season at the national tournament, we're just looking for 4 more wins. We made a bet today at camp about then getting to the national championship. So, yeah, just 4 more wins at the end of the season.
Can I ask what's in that bet?
Absolutely, you can.
Yeah, so there's a game that we play the day before every game, and whoever makes the half-court shot essentially to win the game has to dance in front of the team. So I said the day before the national championship, if we get there or when we get there and we come to that point, that she would dance for the team.
All right. We will be looking forward to that dance. We'll add that as an epilogue to this show. We will bring it live and have it go viral to the world of A name you may be familiar with, Charlie Walrap, is sending a question to us. What is your favorite part of coaching? And what are you most looking forward to this next season?
For me, it's the relationships. Coach and I probably don't get as much done in the office as we would like, just because our players are constantly coming in and telling us about their lives and their work and their internship, their classes. Just that piece of the relationship is so important to us. And then as well as being on the basketball court, the player development side. We take a lot of pride in our players growing. Like Coach said earlier, we don't want our players leaving the same player they did as a freshman that they will leaving as a senior. So that's just an important piece for us, and we recruit kids who want to be in the gym, that want to get better and want to push themselves to that next level. And then the second part of that question is what am I looking forward to? Is just continuing to make those memories with our players and striving to achieve the ultimate goal that our players all want to do, is to win a national championship.
I think you hit it on the head, the relationship piece. And I honestly think that that's why we have the team that we have, is because, of course, winning is fun. Everybody wants to win. That's why you coach. But honestly, we have great relationships with our staff and our players. And not only do we have relationships with them when they're here, but I think something to look forward to is when they come into the office and they're like, guess what I got on my test? Or I have an interview and I think I did really well. Or you get a call from a recent grad and they say, I got the job. I think that those, of course, winning and championships and trophies, and they can come back and they can see themselves in the trophy case and their pictures and all the remember wins, but also knowing that they're going to be okay. They're going to leave, they're going to stop playing basketball, and they're going to make it. And hopefully they come back and support, but hopefully they create that bond with people that they're going to have lifelong friendships with.
Nicole, it's a fair question for you as well. Not only what you're looking forward to, but from that coaching aspect, what do you look forward to from your coaches? And you have 4 of them. We've got the 2 tonight, but I think our viewers would appreciate hearing from you what that perspective looks like. So what's it like working, playing for them, I would say, and also what are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, so I would just touch on the relationship part again. We all have great relationship with all the coaches. Like they said, we come into the office, sometimes there's so many of us in there that we can't fit in their office. So just a relationship part and being able to go to any of them about anything and ask them, well, what do you think about this? What should I do here? And being comfortable going up to any of them. And then just to touch on what I'm most excited for, like I said before, just being there, just getting back to practice, just getting started, going in game by game, like Coach Hocking said before, trying to take it game by game. We try to. Sometimes we get a little ahead of ourselves, excited for the next one, but just getting started.
Mm-hmm. Do you feed off the upperclassmen as well? Is there something that you draw from those who've kind of been through some of those experiences as a team? Do they make that kind of seamless for you to come into that? I mean, your class of 24, you've got quite a bit ahead of you, but you had some really seasoned players you've been a part of since you got here.
Absolutely. Some that graduated, McKenna Hazy, Morgan Pitts, I really enjoyed playing under them. And then, like you said, I'm going to be a junior, but there's 2 classes essentially ahead of me. So, yes, there's a lot to play under, and I have great relationships with all of them. And it kind of brings out who I am, brings out my personality. I match with them, and they make me laugh, and I make them laugh, and we make the coaches laugh. Sometimes we mess around too much, kind of get that look, but it makes it fun, makes it enjoyable to be there, kind of got to laugh here and there. And,
The question came in that I knew was going to come in. And I don't know if you're willing, and it's okay to say no, but inquiring viewers want to know, have you selected the hashtag for this season? Maybe the answer is just yes, and that's where it ends. Maybe this is time for the reveal.
Honestly, I would love to say this is what it is, but that is part of what we're trying to figure out. Who are we as a team? I can tell you that a lot of what we're going to do this year is being a whole unit. So I don't know if either of those words are going to come as part of the hashtag or how we do it, being one group and those types of things, but that's what we're going to do. There were times last year when things got tough, we came together, but we need everybody to be able to come together at the same time and trust in that right away. We're going to need that right away in November, and I think that that's going to be something that we're going to try to put together in the off season. But we're running out of time. So if you have any ideas, please throw them in the chat. But no, this is an easy group, and honestly, they'll probably come to us and tell us what they want it to be.
So we can't run the clock slow on this wonderful conversation, and we've blazed through nearly an hour. So we'll do a bit of a lightning round so that we don't have to go into overtime. And want to respect the fact that you've all pretty much had like a 12 or 15-hour day already. But I'm going to go back to, we briefly footnoted, there's a camp going on across the street. And I've loved seeing the pictures coming forward from that, those campers coming out to rejoin their families and go on with their day. So, a sentence or two, a little insight, a little inspiration for those girls who are coming, and truly, we know they're aspiring. They come to this, they've got dreams, they've got hopes. What do you say to them as they're coming and joining you? They've got years ahead to prepare for that. What would you share with them?
My first thoughts would be, it's okay to watch this group. It's okay to want to be like this group. It's going to take a little bit of hard work, but if you're willing to put in the hard work, you could be them in a handful of years, and there could be little kids at camp wanting to be you. So keep at it, keep working.
For me, one thing that Coach and I always say to each other is big time is where you're at. So just take advantage of every opportunity you have, and even for those kids who have been coming to camps, we've been very fortunate to have kids come back year after year because they get excited for it. They want to be around our players and our program. So just having that involvement from the community is something special.
Yeah, for me, I just think like what I try to do at camp is I try to bug them, get into them, kind of like bring out who they are, because I mean you're coming to a camp when there's college kids and you're third, fourth, fifth graders, and you're shy. So I try to just kind of break into them, give them a hard time here and there, but make sure they're having fun, because you got to enjoy the sport first, and then from there, however far you want to take it.
Most fun moment for you this past season?
I would say, we were talking about earlier, our championship game against CMU in the gym. It was amazing. You look up and you see friends, teammates, classmates, professors, lunch ladies, co-workers, our president there watching. It's not everywhere that you get that, so it was really awesome.
Same?
It really would be the same for me. But I'll just touch on it again, that Stanford trip was just such a special trip for our program. And not only just the game itself, but the experiences we had within the San Francisco community, driving over the Golden Gate Bridge about 8 different times I can remember. We spent some time at Alcatraz as well, and just exploring the city. And it's really those experiences that we do as a team outside of the basketball court that are much more meaningful and just help us be more cohesive as a team.
And winning is awesome, winning is fun, but watching the team embrace the people that they love the most is one of my favorite parts. Taking pictures, I mean, we're in the gym for 2 hours after games when we win big games. It's because there are people that follow them, there are people that want to be around them. But watching the embrace of the immediate reaction of the success, it doesn't happen all the time. You never know when the next win is going to happen. So watching that embrace is pretty incredible for me.
All right, I'm going to close out with, well, actually, I'm going to share one quick memory there as well. For me, I get to be on stage as they all come across. And it's kind of awe-striking where we had some of those seniors coming through. We're going to see again, because COVID had a strange silver lining called eligibility and some things like that. But seeing them coming at me was, I mean, a flood of memories, only because you're part of that community. Nicole hit on it. Everyone's there. We come out for each other day in, day out. That was a special night where everybody was there for you, like you said, 15 players for, 90 minutes. That took forever. We're stressful for those who have no control whatsoever over that. All right, we'll close out. I'm going to go to Adam first, Nicole. Courtney, we'll have you close it out. The game of 3 words. 3 words you hope or your players would describe you as.
I'll say competitive. I would like to think funny. And 3, supportive.
3 words your teammates would use to describe you.
I would probably say goofy, also competitive, and I don't know the word, but like not afraid to do things on your own. Nope, not sure of the word, but that.
I'm not going to limit
Independent?
you. I'm not going to limit anyone
There's
who's
what it is.
all-American status, Coach of the Year, any of that kind of status from using more words than I say. Coach, 3 or maybe a few more words, how the players would describe you.
I'd rather her answer this, to be honest with you, but I would like to think passionate and determined / hardworking, and then just caring, there for them. I could go on whatever word you use for caring and loving and wanting the best for them. I think that those would be, I hope that that's what they say. You can ask her after this, but just being there for them, supportive.
Thank you, all 3 of you. I mean, you've given us a lot to take in, be inspired by, and if you, our viewers, are thinking, well, how can I take more of this? And go to clarkpride.com. Come in and see the teams that we have, all 17 of those teams. Look forward to that season. Join us in the stands at the Kiel Center. Stay in touch and follow us throughout the year. Watch the stream from home. We had a year where that's about all that we could do. I can tell you, the excitement, the stress, the anxiety for the home viewer is almost as matched as it is over at the Kiel Center. We hope you will tune in again for our next episode, our next installment of this work. We've got to thank the technical team. Clark's Information Technology, our IT team, is fantastic in setting this up. And also, we've got help from theater to do this, to bring you this setting, to bring you this opportunity to hear from our community. As Adam said, and I think you hear it, you get to live it, that one Clark, one community. Join us and be a part of that as we come up on homecoming here in October as well. Come to the games, come to campus. Know that you're always welcome to do that. If you're a prospect, if you want to bring your kids, come and see that. That's the environment that we create, and we want you to be a part of that. So we will look forward to seeing you on campus. We'll also look forward to you checking out some of the other installments on our alumni page. We've got those for you. Cocktails with Catherine, our 14th president. We did that a couple of years ago to kick these sessions off. And through that acclaim, we had Norm Freund come and join us and give us some of the history of campus, especially Mary Frances Hall. Those are archived. This will be archived. I feel like I'm going to need to go back and watch it. The stories were that rich and that good. And that's kind of the way Clark is as well. It's that rich. It's that good. Come and be a part of it. And we thank you for watching tonight. Thanks, everyone.